Modern Warfare 4 is only a few months away from release, and in the new version of DMZ, we're going to get some very interesting storylines extended from the campaign. Infinity Ward announced that the story of Modern Warfare 4 would continue in the new DMZ mode, which I'm really excited about. The DMZ Beta in Modern Warfare 2 did have a story of its own, but it was heavily edited throughout each seasonal update. The story only really got finalised in Season 5, I think it was, when we had the Shadow Siege event in Warzone to tease the release of Modern Warfare 3. Since then, the story in Al Mazrah hasn't been progressed, and you can only really start to understand the story from the brief mission overviews and the notes scattered around the different maps. These notes only really scratch the surface of stories that happened before our operators landed in Al Mazrah, Ashika Island, Vondel, Building 21, and of course Koshi Complex. So in today's video, I want to explore the story behind Abu Nassar, or maybe by his more well-known name, The Chemist. In a blog published a few weeks ago, we saw this picture of someone in a yellow hazmat suit stood within the ruins of a building in Hajin, the new DMZ and Warzone map in Modern Warfare 4. Now, we've only seen this one picture of this person, we don't know who they are, and they could very well end up being an operator skin that players can use, rather than a boss that we can fight. However, it did get me thinking that this might be the Chemist, and he somehow travelled from Al Mazrah and conveniently ended up in Hajin. The story of the Chemist is kind of short, but it does paint a very interesting picture of how he got into Al Mazrah and why he's actually there. There are 5 notes that you can find in Al Mazrah, which are journal entries written from the perspective of the Chemist. The first note is from a reporter stating that an unknown source revealed to them that a rogue AQ scientist has arrived in Al Mazrah, which goes by the name of the Chemist. Rumour had it that he died in one of his experiments, and the unknown source also revealed the address for where the Chemist lab is. This first note can be found in the Channel 7 Secure Records room if you want to collect it for yourself. The second note can be found inside the South Zaya apartments, which seems to be where the Chemist was actually initially living. This is the first note written by Abu Nassar himself, which he starts to document his desire to research this new gas project. He complains that nobody really understands him or the work he's doing with this gas, and he wants to get authorization to create his own project to study it. Then we skip ahead a couple of entries to number 4, where we learn that his request was denied, but he decides to recruit what I assume is a group of AQ soldiers to help him continue his work off the books. The entry after that, number 5, is a code followed by a note to wait 10 seconds. Now, that doesn't really seem to be expanded upon any further after that. Note number 3 can be found inside the Zaya Dome and is another journal written by Abu Nassar that begins at entry number 10. Here we learn that his testing site appears to be a great place for further testing, but he keeps running out of test subjects. Presumably he keeps killing them, but again, we get no further detail. Entry 11 reveals that because he's running out of test subjects, he's decided to start microdosing himself with the gas samples, and he thinks that he can build up a temporary immunity to the gas. This is probably the beginning of where he starts to go insane. Note number 4 can be found inside the top floor of the Bank of Adal in Sour Village, and this is where we start to see exactly what's happening to Abu Nassar as he slowly becomes the Chemist everybody fears. Entry 15 starts off with him saying that someone has asked him to leave, probably AQ forces that were based at the Zaya Observatory where he was initially studying. He then writes that something has been painful and that he needs to go inside, and after that, entry 16 reads that someone has given him loyal followers and guards. Now, you could probably interpret that as either AQ or Coney group, but considering Coney don't appear within the various radiation zones with him, and he still only has AQ bots inside the gas, I'm going to assume that this is hinting at AQ and not anyone else. He then goes on to say that they will be protecting my work in, and then it says something illegible. I think this actually means Koshi Complex, and it would make a lot of sense here. Whilst there's lots of Coney Group soldiers in the Koshi Complex now, there's also a lot of AQ soldiers, and they do fight down there, so that would track that the Chemist did use the complex as a place to test his work. Most probably inside the Defense Research Division, which is the entrance with the radiation that you have to go through and close all of the doors to progress. Lastly, he finishes off the note by saying he has some amazing news to report, but he needs to move to the Al Safwa quarry. What I found really interesting while reading this was that the radiation zone can sometimes spawn at Al Safwa quarry, so if it ever does spawn there in game, That is technically canonical with the notes, which I thought was quite fun. And finally, note number 5 can be found inside the chemical weapons storage warehouse at Al Safwa Quarry, which obviously connects the chemist's last entry to this next one. The final journal entry is titled Journal of a Madman, and in it the chemist writes that he has completed his first assessment of an unknown anomaly. He then writes that someone, and we don't know who, is going to go with him into the beast to tackle a new project. He also says that everyone else that has tried to work with this so-called beast has died and he doesn't expect to come back from it. At the end, it says that he's left a thumb drive with data of his work to some mysterious person and that he's now going to have to go, and then the note is apparently illegible. So I have a couple of questions here. The first one is, who is this person that he's given a thumb drive to? Is it someone we know, or someone that we've seen before, like Makarov potentially? Also, and this last bit really has got me wondering, has the chemist left to visit Hajin all the way since Modern Warfare 2? That is insane to me, and also so cool that Infinity Ward has developed the story of Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 4 so far in advance that they've essentially left clues for us to follow to try and guess where the chemist might have gone to. Now that I'm saying this, I'm really starting to believe that this person we've seen in that screenshot is in fact the chemist, and he's going to be in the new DMZ, and we'll see him again in Hajin. I'm also wondering, if all of that is true, what is this beast that he's going to go and work on, and why does it seem like he's so concerned that he might not survive this work? Also, who is he going with? I'll be honest, I actually have more questions now after making this video than I did before it. So, let's just do a little recap on the story of the chemist so far. It starts with an unknown reporter saying that they've heard a mad scientist called the Chemist has arrived in Al-Mazrah. Abu Nassar, or the Chemist as we know him, starts working in a lab for AQ and eventually decides to get a group together to splinter off and continue his work around Al-Mazrah. Eventually, Nassar starts to experiment on himself and finally ends up in the Al Safwa Quarry, where his work seems to come to an end. He then prepares for his next project with another person that we don't really know anything about, and his note suggests that he's going to start working on a new beast of a project that sees him travel somewhere else that we don't know the name of yet. But based on the teasers we've seen for Modern Warfare 4, this is most likely Hajin, located in South Korea. I'll be honest, this is a really cool story that I'd love to see played out in cutscenes if we ever had the chance. I'm also really impressed with how deep the story runs for this one character, and let's be honest, most people probably didn't even think twice about him whilst playing DMZ. So with all that said, I now have a question for you guys. Well, a couple of questions at least. Do you think this is really Abu Nassar, the Chemist? And following on from that, do you think he's travelled to Hajin to continue his story in Modern Warfare 4? Let me know what you think about all this down in the comments below. Having said all that, thank you so much for watching this far into the video. Please remember to like it if you liked it, and subscribe for more DMZ content like this, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye!